Hey guys, it's Benjamin Zamish, the author of Creating Freedom and the founder of Move, Learn, Create, and welcome back to Thematic Serenity, where I am helping people to become more receptive to the magic that is available to all of us in this life. And how are we doing that? By understanding and then learning how to align ourselves and then doing the action steps needed, taking the align ourselves with the fundamental mechanics of this life. Because only when we do that will life begin to work with us, to work for us, through us, instead of happening to us, and happening against us or working against us and causing struggle that so many of us are having to endure in our day-to-day lives. And obviously, you just look around at the world and it's clear that whatever we're doing, we're not behaving in a way that is allowing life to work for us. So today, this is episode 29, and we're going to talk about how to find the hidden doorways, the hidden passageways through obstacles. And this type of obstacle that we're talking about, I'm talking about the struggles, the challenges that are just walls, dead ends, not the type of thing where, you can maneuver around them through cleverness or just, have someone lend you a hand and then get by this one particular roadblock. No, I'm talking about when life runs you into a wall and there's no way over, there's no way around it. How do we find those hidden passageways to go through that obstacle? So that's what this is all about. Let's get right into it. So how often do you guys feel, really think about this, how often in your life do you feel like a particular obstacle is too much to overcome? Where this is one of the obstacles that qualifies as a wall, where you look at the magnitude of this particular struggle and you truly feel like it'll be impossible to continue, like it's just futile. Right? It's pointless to persist against such an insurmountable challenge as the one that's in front of us, whatever it is, this impenetrable barrier to our progress. And this doesn't necessarily mean that it's a point where you decide to give up. I'm not talking about having to give up on your dreams, having to abandon your ambitions entirely, but sometimes the particular path that we've chosen leads us straight into that wall, and really the only apparent conclusion, the only thing that we can really see, the only evidence that we have shows us that we really have to turn back and find a new way, because this one was a dead end. And this one, guys, this is something where not only have I experienced this, so many times in the past, but I am still experiencing this on an all too regular basis. I don't think there's any way around this, for so many reasons that I'll look into here shortly, but this is just something that's an ongoing process. When you're involved in progress and you're on the journey and you're walking a path, this is an unavoidable reality. So that's why it has to be looked at. And for me, it was once I aligned my being, like I'm always talking about aligning yourself with the mechanics of creation. So once I aligned my being with what this life inside me was truly longing for, and then once my purpose, you could say once my purpose found me as a result of that clarity, it became very easy for me, finally, it became very easy for me to set out on that path that I knew I would never turn back from, to head out on that journey and that mission that I knew I would never desert. For so long, the struggle was finding that path. I couldn't find something that I could commit to. But once I aligned myself with life, it became very easy to start down that path. But once I started to live that way, to truly push on relentlessly in one direction, ruthlessly, all of my efforts aligned in one clear direction, and all of my efforts and all of my being are going in this one direction. The momentum that I built up, and that's what the Momentum Masterclass is about. The momentum that you build up from living this way is so phenomenal, and it drove me immediately and relentlessly into all of the challenges that I was previously unprepared for. These are the types of challenges that it would have been pointless for life to put those walls in front of me before, because I wasn't in a position where I could have possibly benefited or learned in any way. I was just, unprepared, outmatched. I would have been. And life only gives you the challenges that you are in a position to learn from. I know it doesn't feel that way. It always feels overwhelming, like this is too much. I can't do this right now. But if there is something in front of you, it's only put there because you're ready to tackle that. You're ready to gain whatever it is that is trying to be given to you, and you're ready to grow from that experience. So when you know that you won't give up, when you're on that path that you know you won't turn back from, and you truly commit to your vision, that is when you start to meet the struggles that really count. That's when you start to embrace these challenges that really matter, because once you've finally left behind all the repetitive struggle, right, all the cyclical hardships, the cycles of pain that we're stuck in, until we learn whatever it was that we weren't learning, that was holding us back. Once you do that, we begin to function very intelligently as a piece of life, as a part of life. This is what aligning yourself with life is all about. Instead of trying to go out on our own, out of our ignorance, which is this insane thing that we all do, where we're trying to work against life. And it's just out of our ignorance. We would never do such a foolhardy thing. If you could see the magnitude of the force of life, of this creation, you would never attempt to go against it. No one would do such a thing, but out of our ignorance, that is what we end up doing. So we get caught in these cycles, going around and around, and it's only after we break out of that we begin to get pushed into these real walls and obstacles that really, really matter. So at that point, you're going to come to a crossroads of sorts. You have to decide then how you want to be in this world. You have to decide how much of a mark you want to make. You have to choose whether or not you're going to continue to push forward, even though you have found fulfillment within yourself. And if you do choose to continue, if you decide that you're going to stay fully on, right, and you're going to continue to strive to open wider and wider and wider the channel within you so that life can pour through you into this creation. If you're going to make of yourself an offering to life, for life to work through you, you could say, as a child, I heard this phrase in a very highly religious, strictly religious atmosphere. They would say, God has a calling on your life. You want to give your life to God. This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about becoming a finger on the hand of the Creator, right? Allowing a life, allowing the mechanics of this creation. I'm just using different terminology now because it is going to work better for the modern mind. But this is the same thing that I'm talking about. If you choose to live that way and continue to push on, then you're going to encounter a new kind of struggle. You're going to run into a totally new kind of barrier than the ones that had you kept in your cycles of hardship for so long before you were able to strike out on that path from which you will never turn back. So even though this is a reality, right? This is an ever-present, and I'm talking about the struggle, the being run into hardships. So even though that is an ever-present reality, it's a constant part of growth and the process of expansion. You are then at that point, you will see that you are empowered in a new way, this phenomenal way to just embrace these seemingly insurmountable challenges without losing your direction, without at all losing your peace and your fulfillment. And somehow, miraculously, it doesn't make any sense to the logical mind, but without even losing your momentum. Explain that one to me. How can you hit a wall, a dead-end wall, and not even lose your momentum? But this is the reality of the experience, because it's an inner experience, the movement, the motion, the momentum and the expansion, the fulfillment of desire. These things are an ongoing process that is taking place within you. The barriers and the walls that we're talking about, these are in the external world. We're talking about how to handle the external world, but that has no bearing over your internal experience. So it's really such a phenomenal reality of this new way of living. And this new way of living, it is freedom. I mean, this is freedom. This is what the Manic Serenity is about. Build momentum, find out what your limitations are, and then learn how to create freedom from those limitations, right? And then become empowered to do things that you could never imagine. So when you come to this point to where you are able to push forward into the inevitable struggle and discomfort is a better term, into the inevitable discomfort of progress with nothing to fear. Nothing to fear, because you have found yourself in your experience to be complete. This is freedom, to be able to acknowledge the true nature of this experience, to see, to perceive clearly how life functions here in this world, and just embrace that fully, to throw yourself into the fray, right? To hurl yourself into the battle, and to really risk losing everything, even your own very life, right? Unless you hate your own life, you cannot follow me. You know, to risk losing everything because you are now rooted in this unshakable, imperturbable fullness of being, that peace which passeth all understanding. That's what we're talking about here. But nobody seems to want to talk about this part of the process. I definitely don't hear. I mean, I'm constantly absorbing wisdom and knowledge from all the teachers that I can find who I have respect for, and many of whom are so very different than me, but their perspective is so relevant for the level, that they're speaking from. And I absorb it all constantly, but I don't hear people talking about this part of the journey. It feels like nobody really wants to acknowledge the true complexity of this life, the reality that just because you found what you were looking for, which is to say really that just because you found what your desire was actually seeking, just because you found what your desire is seeking doesn't mean the end of that desire. It doesn't stop just because you found the truth. In fact, it turns the volume up, to a deafening level. Just because you finally strive for long enough, and you find the right tools, and you embrace the right practices, and you open your heart, and you do these things that are necessary for you to truly encounter this living reality that may be so much grander and will be so much grander than your wildest ideas. I mean, your craziest conceptions of how something that we refer to as enlightenment, which doesn't mean anything, how that could be. Just because this becomes a living reality for you, it doesn't mean the end of struggle. It doesn't mean the end of discomfort. It doesn't mean you get to check out and coast. What would be the point of that? I mean, what would be the point of struggling to bring yourself to this place where you can be a finger on the hand of the Creator if there was not work to be done after that, right? So why continue? Why continue then? Because it's a choice. I've acknowledged that it's a choice. I said you have to decide. You're going to come to a crossroads of sorts. You're going to have to choose and have to decide. So why push onwards into new challenges in the first place? Why are we even here talking about how to find hidden doorways through challenges, passageways through these walls that we encounter, if we're not actually compelled to push on into these walls in the first place? Because in a way, I can see how if I was listening to this that I would say that doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, we've been told our whole life that peace is the goal, that God is love, that all we all want is just to be happy, you know, and I feel like it's easy to prop yourself up with viral videos, and you know, perhaps it's easy to go viral with motivational videos that play into this perspective, that just kind of pat us on the back and remind us that we're right. You're right, it's okay, we're almost there. The destination is right around the corner. And we just keep, you know, propping ourselves up, reinforcing these comfortable concepts that we invested ourselves in when we were very young. And I'm sorry, because I am interested and have only ever been interested in one thing and one thing only, and that is truth. The absolute truth, the impersonal reality of a creation so vast and so phenomenal that it can't possibly be something that fits inside the boundaries of what we consider as comfortable. You know, it can't possibly be reined in within the dimension of whatever, you know, we can find solace in. That's a ridiculous idea when you really think about it. And so the truth here is that peace is not the goal. Peace is merely one aspect, a fundamental aspect, absolutely necessary, but not the goal. It's an aspect of what is required. It's necessary. It's like a prerequisite before we are able to even begin our real life. It's just a basic requirement that is barely even related to the goal, but we've raised it up to this incredible, you know, this incredible heights where we look up at it like, I just want to find peace. And we're doing ourselves, we're crippling ourselves. We're doing ourselves a unbelievable disservice. I mean, right after saying that, you might as well say, because I'm only human. You know, you're just cutting yourself down and slapping, you know, the creator in the face for having, you know, molded something so phenomenal as what it is that you are. And speaking of the creator, God is not love, okay? Love is a human emotion, emotion. And because we all crave it so much, and it's so precious to us because of the way that it, you know, alleviates our struggle and you know, swaddles us in comfort and solace while we're going through the hardships of this journey. We project that human emotion, that thing that we all crave, onto our really totally imagined, fabricated idea of the ultimate. You know, we turn it into a hallucination and call it God. It's not rooted in any actual reality of experience. It's not existential in the creation. It's just something we're just saying because we want it to be so, because we don't want to actually have to push through an uncomfortable barrier. And happiness, well, definitely we're all seeking happiness. I mean, that's true, but happiness, just this idea of happiness, this glorification of happiness, kind of falls away once you've tasted a drop of ecstasy. You know, and I skipped bliss because there's happiness, then there's bliss, and then there's ecstasy. And when you've tasted a drop of ecstasy, you know, this just kind of goes away, the endless quest for happiness. I mean, it's kind of like peace, right? It just disappears once you have done the work and built for yourself a backdrop of bliss, let's say. We don't need a backdrop of ecstasy, but definitely we're all capable right now in a very short time to build for ourselves a backdrop of bliss on which we can then paint the full color spectrum of experience that is available to us as human beings, right? Because we're never going to do that. We're never going to dive in, you know, and really come alive if we're too busy protecting the parameters of our idea of happiness. No, we have to break through that and go far beyond that. So, and I'm not saying that you're going to become unhappy, that you're going to start struggling more. No, I'm saying rather that life is trying to push you far beyond the limits of your current concept or our current ideas of happiness. So that's why we keep pushing. All those things that I just said, that is why we keep pushing. That's why we embrace these new levels of challenges, even though, yes, we have found everything that we were looking for. We keep pushing because life is so much bigger than anything we could have imagined. It's our potential. Our potential, what it is that's inside of us seeking to express itself into the world, because that's what we're talking about when we say our potential. Our potential is so much bigger than our 7.5 billion wildest dreams, greatest ambitions combined. For each one of us, our potential is greater than that because it never ends. So the truth, is that all of those ideas that you might have for what the goal is, you will never fully transcend those until you experience those. You're not going to do away with it. I'm never going to convince you that your ambition is not the ultimate, because definitely it's the ultimate in your experience right now. So you're never going to allow yourself to go beyond that until you experience it. Like Jim Carrey says all the time, he's like, I want every person on the planet to become rich and famous, because then they would see that that's not the goal. Now, everyone's not trying to become rich and famous, but he's alluding to the same thing. You're not going to go beyond it until you experience it, but you are not going to experience it truly. You're not going to experience the ultimate goal that you can see until you yield in some way to this life, until you have the intelligence really and cultivate the clarity necessary to grant yourself permission to throw yourself into the fire of desire and let it burn away. Just let it burn away all of your resistance until the only thing left in you is gratitude. Gratitude for being part of something so immense, so inconceivable, so miraculous in so many ways. And when that desire then pushes you again, ever onward and smashes you into those walls, smashes you into those new obstacles, drives you into these barriers, these insurmountable barriers that we began by speaking about, you will be okay. You will be so much more than okay, because you will know, in your experience, you will know the truth that these challenges are just walls with hidden doorways that are only perceived through the lens of this gratitude. So thank you so much for joining me. This was a really beautiful one. I'm very thankful for you being here with me in this process. I love each and every one of these pieces. If you haven't yet, please go in the description and sign up for these free courses that I'm talking about. I recommend start with the Momentum Masterclass. After you do that, after you implement those tools, maybe you go on to Move, Learn, Create. Then you read the free Creating Freedom ebook. Get a sense of that process of overcoming these boundaries and limitations that we all struggle with. They're different for each one of us, but definitely we all have some set of chains on us. So then there's a free course that comes with that. Go through that process. I'm working right now. I already finished the framework for writing down, typing up the framework for the Manifestation Masterclass, which is when things get really, really amazing, and I'm so excited to share those things with you. So please, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do that. Share this. Please share this with anyone that you think might be impacted by it in a positive way. You don't have to share it with people who it's not going to resonate with, but if someone comes to mind, definitely send it to them. I would really appreciate that, as I can only reach so many people. So thank you, and I will see you next week.